Hi everyone, Kaitlyn here. I received a question on Facebook from a girl, and she says,
Hey Kaitlyn, first off I'd really like to congratulate you on everything that you have done with your books. I think it is absolutely amazing and is a massive achievement. I would like to ask one thing. I'm 15 and I have sort of the same idea as you. Since a kid I have always been interested in reading and writing books. At the moment I am writing my own, but it just isn't seeming to get anywhere. Do you have any suggestions as to how to make the book good, or what to focus on in it? I'm struggling a bit with this. Thanks. Please reply when you can. No rush. Thanks. Anything is accepted.
So you want to know if I have any suggestions about how to write a good book, basically. Well, I do have a few suggestions about writing. One is characters. Characters are extremely important in a book. I would dare say probably the most important, but it depends on the person, I guess. To me, characters make a story. They are what drive a story to the end. I think characters are so important also because, especially when you write in first person, you are writing in the character's mind. So you're taking the reader into the mind of the character, and that is extremely important for any reader to be able to experience what the character is experiencing. You know, you have to ask yourself, well, what makes this character the way they are? They need a backstory, and then they need a driving force for their story goal, because the story goal needs to somehow be attached to the character to make them want to pursue this. Be like, I would rather die than see this live on, or I would rather die than not do this. They would rather die than not complete the story goal. That's the most important thing to me, because if your characters are flat and they don't have they don't hold water in a story, then you don't have a good story. Number 2 is your plot. Your plot is extremely important when you're writing a book because of the fact that it is the story. It is everything. It's like the meat and potatoes of a story. It's the best part, I suppose. It's what your character has to live through. There's a lot of essential elements in a plot, but it's really detailed and hard to explain in just a few minutes. So if you guys would want me to explain more on plot and something called the 3-act structure, then just comment below and tell me, and I will make another video about it. Number 3 is your story world. Your story world can be really anywhere you choose, a different planet, backyard. It can be anything you can think of, a different realm, a different dimension. I don't know, is that the same thing? I don't even know. I don't know because I haven't written a book about realms or dimensions, and so I haven't studied that. Basically, your story world is anywhere where the plot takes place. And your story world is important because of the fact that that is where it takes place. So it's your setting. And you need to have your setting figured out before you start writing because you want it to be consistent. So if you're figuring out your story world as you are writing your story, then you run the risk of being inconsistent and missing that when you go through the editing stage. You run the risk of making your world unrealistic, and that's a very dangerous place to be. You don't want to do that. Number 4 is your theme. Your theme is basically the underlying message in the whole book. It could be something like crime doesn't pay, or stand up for what you believe in, which is the theme of my novel. It can be anything like moral, or every story just needs a theme. Your theme has to be emotional. It needs to be an emotional theme. Now, if your theme ends up being an intellectual theme, then kudos to you, basically, because that's just the big bonus. You know, if your theme is more than just emotional, and it actually comes out in the book point blank, and it's it's considered an intellectual theme. But I don't think you have to worry about this very much because usually the theme kind of makes itself. I do like putting in themes though because it's one of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite things to do is putting in themes. I like to think about my themes before I write the book because I want to ask myself, well, what do I want to teach the reader? What do you want to teach the reader? Do you want to teach the reader that it's okay to stand up for what you believe in, to have a higher self-esteem about your beliefs, which is what was in my novel? Yeah, that's what I wanted for my first book, and so I did that, and I wrote that throughout the book, and that is what I chose as my theme. You don't have to choose theme immediately, but if your book doesn't have a theme, there isn't really a point to the book. Like there isn't, okay, a theme just makes your book a little more enjoyable or thicker, I want to say. I can't find the right word right now, but it just makes it better and worth reading. Number 5 is style. The style of your book is going to be the way you write it. If you write your book in a certain style in the beginning and then a different style in the end, it's going to confuse the reader. And you're not going to get very good feedback because of the style. Because the style is how you execute the story. It's all about how you execute it. And you want to be able to execute your story in such a way that the reader feels connected and they don't stumble over the writing. The style you want to go with, it depends. I mean, there's not a right or wrong style because everyone's opinions differ with the styles. So, but what you want to do is decide on a style in the beginning before you start writing. And then when you pick your style, then you stick with that style throughout the whole book. And if you change your style, you have a lot of work to do to change the whole book because the whole book needs to be one style. Overall, all those 5 points, everything I talked about, the biggest thing that I want to point out is consistency and realism. You need to make your book as realistic as you possibly can. I don't care if there's magic and dwarves and fairy tale stuff in it. Make it as realistic as possible. Make the reader want to believe this is real. And also consistency. You want everything. Your characters, your plot, your story world, your theme, your style, you want it all to be consistent. As consistent as possible. And that can take work, a lot of work, but it's not impossible. That is basically my answer to your question. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want any detailed answers on any of the points I made, then just comment below and tell me. Subscribe to my channel. I love subscribers very much. And don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Bye.